Welcome back to the Danger Planet. Today we're talking about Malifaux community building. Bah. I'm talking to Dr. D. Dr. D, say hello.
Hi. That wasn't hello. I'm sorry. I said something else.
Yeah, we have to start over now. I'm keeping this all in. Dylan, hello, welcome, Dr. D, to the Danger Planet. How was your trip in?
It was great. I had to leave the Infinity section of your guys' YouTube sphere. Now I'm here.
Yeah. We did it, and now we've traveled over to Malifaux land. We're gonna talk about some fun Malifaux stuff, though. That's what we got, right?
Yeah, that's what I got on the docket.
We did some earlier this week. Well, I guess walk me through first. You guys will see some pictures of what's happening in the background, basically, as we're going. But now that we said our hellos, walk me through what happened. What did we do last week, Dylan?
So we decided to have a Halloween-themed Malifaux event at the local store, at our local store of Webway Games in Marlborough, Massachusetts.
Yeah, buddy!
Hooray!
Shout out to Cam and
Raph,
who I saw yesterday. Those guys rock. They run a great store. Webway Games.
Yep.
Best gaming store in Massachusetts, probably.
They're great people. Absolutely some of the most friendly game store people you'll meet. They take my verbal abuse very well and
Can confirm. They do.
They sure do. But we decided that, I decided that I was going to host a Halloween event because the new Malifaux tiny tyke thing models had come out, and I was like, oh, what a great prize for an event. We should make it Halloween themed. So I also said, hey, wear costumes.
Yeah, the Guys and Ghouls box. BT Dubs, if you haven't picked yours up and want to pick it up online, use our affiliate code. It's linked below. What were we saying? Sorry, shameless plug. I ended up So Guys and Ghouls, not Guys and Dolls. That's a different thing. Very cool models. I'll put a picture now. And that's enough of a reason to run an event, I think.
Absolutely. And when the local store, we started playing Malifaux, we have been playing mostly at home just because of the fact that when we do go, mostly because a lot of the people that play Malifaux at the store are also very localized in the same area of Boston. So we decided we were going to have an event to kind of expand the community. And then we even found out there was another community that went to the same store. 2
communities? Holy crap. We've had kind of a weird mini renaissance of Malifaux popping up all over Massachusetts. Like we recently got in touch with an Amesbury group at Toy Soldier, also great store, huge fan. There's like a couple Pocket folks. Speaking of which, Nick, I hung out with Nick Kaiser yesterday, who we did the Von Schill tier list for shortly ago. And turns out BT Dubs, happy birthday, Nick. We accidentally dropped the tier list that we did for you as a patron on your birthday. So that's fucking wild, quite frankly.
Happy birthday!
But I was playing a game with him yesterday at Webway. We have like a couple people that are just completely unaffiliated. We have like 3 or 4 different communities that have all popped up. And it's almost like Malifaux's a game that people play now.
Well, you figure these dead games, one of us must be a necromancer as we pulled it out from below the earth. They were yeah. And we had some sort of neat, I say neat, well, it was sort of not neat at the time, but we had they were going to run an event, we were going to run an event, and then we sort of just like merged it into one kind of. But it was super, super cool and very excited to see a bunch of communities come together. Because Dylan, do you remember how many people we had? Actually, before you say that, let me run through the story.
Oh, yeah, we'll go through the story. I don't want to jump ahead. All right, so walk us through everything. So we're going to plan an event.
I was planning the event. I was expecting about 10 people. I saw it get to about 12 and 13. I was like, oh, wow, this is pretty cool. Thankfully, I have just enough boards to get through about 13 people with all the stuff that we have locally. That's going to be great. Literally the day before, I get messaged from a buddy of mine who's coming to the event. He's like, man, can you believe it? You got 20 people. And I was like, I got what?
Yeah.
So I panicked because I was like, I don't have enough boards. I message Mr. Brandon here. And
hi, I'm Brandon.
Hi. Him and his friend Doug, they have a lot of boards because they have also.
I don't know if you've heard of me or Doug. We run this small YouTube channel you may have heard of. It's the one you're currently listening to. We got boards, yo.
And so I actually lost sleep. I was laying in bed thinking, oh no, if I can't get enough boards, this event's going to tank. Someone's going to have to leave angry. Really, really didn't want that to happen.
And the one thing that's very known about Malifaux players, the boards don't have to be great, but if you have to turn people away because you don't have room, they'll kill you. That's not really true, but just put boards together. It's fine.
And my only regret is I have only one life to give. Wyrd.
Yeah. I have 7 that I've spent already. And something. I don't know. There's this guy. He like whispers to me now. It's fine. I think his name was Greg Spirit, maybe. It's fine. Everything's fine. So we ended up, I was actually at Doug's when we found out that was the case, because I was like, Doug, you got to register for this event. We were planning to come down anyway, because I moved, I live in Amesbury now, so it's like, where do I live? Andover. I live in Andover now, so it's like, I moved a bit north of the city pretty recently, out of like right near it, and so I stayed at Doug's because we were going to drive over to Marlborough, and then I was like, do you want to bring some tables? We could bring like 1 or 2, because you had done this thing where people bring a table and they get a bit of a discount on tournament entry, which is cool, which is a very cool premise. I really like that a lot. Strongly encourage y'all to pick that one up and steal it, but give Dylan credit maybe. And then we were like, oh, and Doug was like, hey, there's 20 people registered for this event. And I was like, what? There were 12 just yesterday. So there were 20 people, and we were like, okay, maybe we wake up a little earlier and throw like 8 boards in the car.
Yeah,
so we did.
It was a good surprise to have.
Yeah.
So anyway, but we got all that sorted out, ran to the store, 20-person event, and we actually and the night before, I even capped the event in an attempt to stop more people from coming, because I was really worried about the board thing, but it all worked out in the end thanks to Danger Planet, if you ever heard of them.
Yeah, we did it. Yeah, they're like a small local YouTube channel. So that's what we got. Then we had this cool event. And that, like, we kind of won, we like repping the like local tournaments. That's a big deal. And also like 20 people is like not like
pretty significant.
Is more than 50% of the largest event in the United States this year. So that's a thing. We want to talk to Dylan more about Malifaux. So like, I guess the question becomes, what are we doing? How did we get here? What happened? Why are there people? How did we get 20 people at this event?
Let me tell you, I have been hosting events, so a lot of the ideas that came to this Malifaux event have come from my experience of running Infinity events, which, by the way, listen to Arachne, which is my podcast, which is an Infinity podcast, where we also do Malifaux content.
Which we will link below. Also, can I just say, Infinity, that's a lot of events.
It sure is. Okay. It's like that many plus more.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But anyway, so the board idea came from the Infinity community. There were other things I was going to implement for this one, but I figured I would kind of keep the changes minor when there's 20 people. And so the 20 people came in, everybody paid their their buy-in, and we got started right on time. Funnily enough.
What a time. I thought that was impossible. Sometimes you pick a time and then start. That's what we got. I guess my go-to tournament advice is do what you're going to, when you announce stuff and like put a thing together, do that. Don't wildly deviate.
Yeah. Don't do that. Because I had originally said 2.5 hour rounds, and then somebody asked me, can we do 3 hour rounds? Which me and Brendan had been talking about a few days before the event. I was like, maybe that is a better idea. I just stuck with what I had written down, because you should do that. Obviously, this event had changed a little bit from when it was originally announced, which we won't even talk about it. But I think everybody was fairly happy when they left. And thankfully, the prizes for this particular event were things that I had collected from Jesse from A Boring Conversation, who's been a frequent guest on this podcast as well.
Yeah, buddy.
This isn't a podcast. This is a YouTube show.
We're a YouTube channel, but Jesse's on it all the time. Y'all know Jesse. If you've been to Malifaux events.
You know him. He's a great guy. You know him. You love him. Yeah. And so I had painted that Halloween box that we were talking about earlier, the one that he had showed earlier. I painted them, and they were going to be giveaways for prizes.
And boy, were they. In fact, I in this tournament I was sort of debating what I wanted to play, and I was like, well, it was mostly new player themed, right? And so it wasn't like an exclusively like locked event. I guess we can talk about that. Point being, I won a model that I played with all day, and it was really cool, and I was very happy. It's really good.
And so, thankfully, my lovely girlfriend is or was able to help me because I've been teaching her how to paint slowly but surely. And so she did a lot of the base work, and then I do all the fancy stuff to make it look even better. And I have a bunch of prizes like extra paint, paraphernalia, the stuff that I've been just kind of collecting over the years. Because when I go to cons, I get free samples, and some of the sponsors of Arachne will give me stuff and yada yada. And so I just put it in prize supports whenever I need to. And extra models I get, or just literally random stuff I find around my house that I don't want anymore, I just throw into the prize pool. So a couple of people got foam. Some people got like a paint rack that he's going to turn into a display shelf, and just little bits and bobs and some measurement tools and some widgets. And we had all kinds of prizes. I didn't even have to ask Wyrd, which we'll probably have to.
Yeah. And shout out to Wyrd. They will occasionally support tournaments. Like if you get on the contact tournament support sort of deal, you can reach out to them on the website, and they've been really good about sponsoring a bunch of our stuff, including our big crazy GT and like a couple of smaller local events. So definitely worth reaching out. But yeah, if you're looking at doing this whole tournament hosting gig, you will, especially the longer you find yourself in like the Malifaux sphere, running events, it helps to ask the store. But yeah, usually the store will take like the entry fee. So if they're doing that, some stores will give away store credit, but the Malifaux vibe really tends to be like sort of stuff in a prize. And our like guiding principle has always been like everybody should get something, even if it's like something small, just like a small like little promo model or like a base or like a paint or something. But Malifaux isn't the win $1 million for coming in first in like a 12-round fucking like 6-day event. That's not the vibe. There certainly higher tier skill expressions, and there are like crazy Iron Scorpius prizes and stuff, but that's like big convention stuff, and if you need to know about that and how to do that, you probably already do. If you have questions, get in the comments, obviously. But in general, I would recommend getting some smaller prize stuff. Work with their store to work on whatever they have from a Malifaux account. Usually they can buy stuff pretty cheap, that's what it is. And also, if you have a gaming store and you need help getting in touch with Wyrd, like, let me know. I have helped out a dozen stores do this already, but they have a really good direct trade account, and it's one of the best programs that I've ever seen run by any manufacturer, period. And their customer service is amazing. But sorry to derail on the prize support thing. So we ran this event. You ran this event. I wasn't really involved. I just kind of was there. And
which must have been nice, by the way.
It was fun, yeah.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, as the consummate, I'm always the judge guy. It was fun to play in an event. And I'd be remiss without talking about the fact that it was a new player event, right? So I wanted to play something new player friendly. So obviously my first pick was I was just going to run like super aggressively tuned Seamus 1 lists at everybody all day.
Sure.
That's like my go-to, because I really feel like if you're a new player to Malifaux, you just have to have the absolute shit kicked out of you, and I need to kill all your models so you don't get to play the game or have fun. And then I was like, oh wait, hold on, I'm not playing some stupid nonsense. No, so I played the new Asura Rotten zombie list all day. It was super fun. It's such a weird fucking list. And it does so many things, and so I summoned 10 zombies one turn. That was fun. Dead Rider, what a boy. And because the little ghoul, creepy crawly, I think is what he's called, but the carrion effigy alt was in the pool, I ended up getting that guy as my prize. So I got a bottle that I played with all day.
Yeah, it's the story writes itself, as they say.
It does indeed. Much like this video, which of course, as you can tell, is definitely scripted.
No, it's not. Please don't look at my screen.
No, it's fine. Everything's fine. Even this part is scripted.
Oh my gosh. How did we know we were going to get to this?
No, your line wasn't, oh my gosh, Dylan. Okay.
Line.
Yeah. So I guess line without getting too rambly, we did a cool thing. Dylan ran this awesome tournament. We went to it and had a great time. And you too can have such success. You got to talk to people. You got to get stuff together, and you just, plan out. Tell people. See who's interested. Find a store that'll support you. It all starts with a conversation.
We are here to guide you in the principles of running an event, because it's actually a lot easier than you would originally think.
Yeah. And like, you don't have to be some fancy big shot YouTube lawyer. No, lawyer?
I know you're a lawyer.
I'm not a lawyer. Sam's a lawyer, but that's not really That's not really helpful. Some fancy big shot YouTuber for Malifaux or whatever, right? You can just be a normal guy being like, hey, I have a couple friends who want to play Malifaux. Let's run a thing. The community is great. Reach out. If you're not in touch with your like local area, big city nearest community, let us know. We might not be able to get in touch with them, but we probably can get in touch with somebody who can.
That's for sure. This community is very, very interested in resurrecting itself.
All right, Dylan. So we've talked a little bit about what we did. We've talked a little bit about what was going on, and generally, like, we're very positive, enthusiastic about all the things. How? Obviously, you decided you want to do this, but how did you decide to do this, and what did you prepare to get this going?
So if you're going to run an event for Malifaux, you have to make sure you know what kind of program you're going to use in order to do all of the, pairings and all that stuff. Longshanks is amazingly capable of doing all that. It has been amazing that it's popped around. I've been using it since the MCP days, and it's just been fantastic to have. It makes it very, very easy. Accounts are free. Nobody needs to pay a single dime to use it, and it has been errorless as long as I've been using it, as long as you know how to use the interface for it. So if you are interested in doing this, what I recommend you do before you even pick a date is go on Longshanks, go to create an event, kind of just look at all the options so that you can kind of encompass, like, well, maybe these are different, like, things I could do for my event. We could do this, we could do that. You can literally make it however big you want. If you want to keep it small for your very first one just to get some practice, or you just want to do it in your living room, on your dining room table, you can do that. So yeah, you can start wherever you're the most comfortable.
4-person tournament, go. And using Longshanks with just like a couple pairings is super good. I will say the only predecessor to that as a general plan I have is if you're somebody who plays Malifaux and you want to run a tournament, you should read the Gaining Grounds document, whatever the most recent one is. At the time of recording, it's 4, but word on the street is that 5 is coming soon. And so just go to Malifaux's website or Wyrd's website, type in Gaining Grounds, and get a copy of the document. It not only tells you like the tournament rules, which are super helpful to know, so to give you like sort of the stuff that Longshanks does automatically for you, but it gives you all the cool alternative like limited format sort of stuffs. We had talked about that a lot, because when you were originally starting to plan this event, we had talked about making it a lot more new player friendly and what that looks like, right? Having a bunch of restrictions and a bunch of extra rules can be helpful for some people. It can be detrimental for other folks, but it kind of depends on what your community's into and what they need. But there are lots of official like document bits, like you can play with limiting people to a single master for the day so that they can't hire a second master. You can play where people have to declare what leader they're going to be playing, and then they can only play that leader all day. If you have like smaller newer people and you don't want people to have a wild collection to be able to have a significant advantage, although quite frankly I don't really think that's a thing, but some communities might disagree with me. You can play Dead Man's Hand if a bunch of you are coming back from 2nd edition and somebody has like, well, I want to play Malifaux, but all I have is the Snickedem crew. There's all kinds of different things that you can do. And most importantly, in the document, it tells you, look, guy, you're the TO, make some decisions. If you say a thing, that's what it is. And it really does a good job of sort of explaining that it's your event, do what you want. This is a guideline, not mandatory.
I find that people who are worried that they're going to make the wrong decision, like, oh, if I choose this one different kind of way to play and nobody's going to hate me, I find that most of the time nobody really cares as long as they're aware of it before they walk into the event.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And whatever it is that you're going to do, definitely post it online somewhere, right? Whether it's in a Discord or in your Facebook groups, your like gaming store's Facebook group, or like get a physical printed out on a one of those, what are those things called that print stuff, the machines?
I believe they're called a Xerox.
A Xerox, yeah. And then once you've Xeroxed a few copies, staple them to your local game store employees, right?
To the back of your shirt.
Yeah, exactly. You can do it.
Just make sure you're wearing the shirt when you do it.
But yeah, Longshanks is a hell of a tip. That is super good. Well, hopefully we'll link this below. I might forget to put it in the thing, but if I do, get in the comments and tell me to put it in the thing, and then I'll go back in and put it in the thing. We did it. Future proofing.
That's
yeah.
And so after you have figured out what program you're going to use, the very next thing I would do personally is I would ask, generally speaking, to the people that you know you can trust that are going to show up, hey, what day do you think we should do this? Don't try and get a day that literally everybody can go to if they can't like easily agree on a day, because you will run yourself ragged trying to find the perfect day instead of just picking a single day, if that makes sense.
Yeah, running a tournament now and a tournament in a couple weeks or like in a month or two is better than running no tournaments at all, because you spend the entire time freaking out about getting everybody a date that works, you know?
And you will find that things will change. Significant others will ask husbands and wives to do things. Kids will get sick. Things will break. These things are going to happen. That's life. So what you just
the downfall of the Republic, any of those things could happen.
Anything like that, just pulling a random example out of the air, like my friend Brendan here is doing. And so what you need to do is you just need to pick the day, create the event, and what you'll notice is that if you promote it correctly, even if the people that were going to show up, if one of them can't come or whatever, you might be pulling people from a local community, because as I'm sure Brendan has talked about, or we'll talk about in this episode, is that Malifaux tends to have these little islands of communities that just need like a little bit of a push to find the current to another community. And those Discord messages that you're going to put out, that we're going to talk about in a second, from the link to your Longshanks event, is amazing at pulling people, because there are so many people out there who are like, I want to play more Malifaux. I can only play with my brother or whatever, but he's gonna, he can only play every other week or whatever, and I want to meet new people, and they'll come to your event unannounced. So just walk in. They'll be like, hey, I'm just a guy. I like to play Malifaux. How's it going? We want to be best friends?
For sure.
And then you guys will kiss.
The Malifaux, and the kissing is extra important.
It is very important.
Malifaux is this kind of game that really is, I don't know if you haven't played much, you might not know this, but it's really fucking complex, like aggressively so. And so usually what you'll find is that skews towards adults in general. I have never personally met a kid who was not the child of a Malifaux player who played Malifaux. Like literally anybody under 17, never once have I met one. And there might be somebody out there that's under 17 and plays Malifaux that's not the child of a player of Malifaux, but I would be surprised. It's because it skews so mature, I guess is a word to use, but like I guess I don't want to say old, but because the age generally speaking is like people who have lives and do stuff and are generally socially well adjusted and not like grognard 40k teenagers, right? You'll find that people have lives and stuff comes up, and that not everybody's going to be able to make everything, but that's okay, And
so what you do is you just do the best with what you got, and then as long as people have fun, they'll make sure they make time to go to the next one, and then that's when the events start to grow. Your notoriety increases. You gain an extra level. You gain cleave, which is really cool.
You can't tell them about the next level. It's not. You gotta.
Oh no.
Okay.
Oh, did I make a mistake?
Yeah, I'm not cutting this because I have to leave it in so everyone knows of your crimes.
That I'm an idiot.
But you can't tell them that it's in the contract.
Oh God. Darn it, I've messed up again. I'm going to prison.
Yeah, we're going to have to send Dylan to prison now, but don't worry, you don't get cleave. There's no such thing as cleave.
Oh.
No, there is, but it's, don't worry about it. It's fine. Everything's fine.
Okay. Back on track. So the next thing you do is you're going to find all of the communities that you can find that are Malifaux related, be it a Facebook group, if you're on Facebook, Discord pages. Usually if you just Google Malifaux Discord, and then even if you want to be really spicy and put it in like a specific area, so like let's just say you live in New Hampshire, right? And you're like, hey, I really want to make a community, or I don't know any communities around here, let me Discord Malifaux community New Hampshire, and the Midgard one might pop up. So you find that you join those groups, you put the event in there, say, hey, I'm trying to get this thing started, kind of give a brief little description of what's happening, and then you start to pull people from all these events so that they can come to your little Mecca event.
Yeah, and like when in doubt, like the official Wyrd Place Facebook group is a great resource.
Yes.
The official Wyrd Play Discord is super helpful. Our Discord, Arachne, your server, like there's so many things, different places. Like any of the YouTubers and like podcasts in general are usually great launch pads because we all literally hang out like every week and know each other on a first name basis. Like Jeff from Defective Dice has been to my house. Actually, you know what? To be fair, he was at my apartment when I lived in Malden, but I don't live in Malden anymore. So he hasn't been to my new one. But neither have you, Dylan.
I haven't, but I have actually been creating plans to go see Jeff in Long Island. So I'm going to go see him before.
In Long Island?
Long Islands.
Long Island. There's a K and a G. That's how you pronounce it.
And like he was saying, if you are having trouble finding places to post these things, reach out to a community leader like a podcaster, and then they can announce it on their podcast or their YouTube shows or their whatever. And if you want to talk about outreach, bam, that's how you get it, baby.
Yeah, buddy. Yeah.
So then
everyone's cool. Just shoot messages. When in doubt, slide into their DMs. That's all it takes.
Absolutely. And one other thing that I find is very, very helpful when you think about human psychology, I'm going to get doctor in here because everybody thinks Dr. D is not a real doctor. Dr. D is a real doctor. And if you read books like The Status Game, it's an absolutely phenomenal book that establishes a very well-defined ability for you to essentially create passion in people in the simplest way. And that is by creating something called a status item or some kind of way of gaining status, but other than just coming to an event. So if you were to go to a Malifaux event, you gain status in that community because of the fact that you're like, oh yeah, I know that guy, Jeff. He's a cool guy. He's a defective guy. He comes to events. He's a really cool dude, and he's been to all these events, and I like his opinions and blah blah blah. But what you do is you create some kind of item. You can think of it like a trophy, and whoever wins, or like a prize. In our case, it was the painted models. You have something that creates novelty with your event, and that is a really, really good way to get a lot of extra, let's just say, goodwill from the people that have come to your event. So in this case, you could paint like maybe a model. It doesn't have to be like super well painted, just painted in general. And you could be like, hey, whoever wins this event gets this little prize. Or it could be maybe every single time, if you want to run an event that's a little bit more chill, that doesn't only reward winning, you could say, hey, there's going to be a raffle for all the people that stay until the end of this event. And for every game you played, we give you a ticket or whatever. And at the end of the game, we'll raffle off a bunch of prizes. Doesn't matter who won, who lost, and all that stuff. As long as there is something that people can walk away with in a way that they're like, oh, this event was special because it had X, Y, Z. So usually what I always do with my buddy Ernie, who, if you ever come to my events, Ernie's probably going to be there. He and I will very, very frequently create some kind of novelty game item. So in Infinity, we used to do art and put them on smoke templates because smoke templates are something that everybody always needed in Infinity, but not everybody always had. And so we are planning on doing like measuring sticks for the next one. So I would always say, reach out to maybe people that can create stuff. So maybe like a token, because I know the Danger Planet GT, they had specific little tokens that they gave away at their event.
Yeah, buddy. Those were Nick S made those with his laser cutter. He has a thing. We'll link it below. But like Etsy, there's a million people. Widget Wizards is another one that donated stuff to us because they're like he's like a local dude in Rhode Island. Rhode Island. It's like Long Island.
Yeah,
but it's a little different.
But it's got guys.
Little further north, less G's and K's. Sorry, I just like saying Long Island. Please continue.
And after that, all you got to do is you got to make sure you preach what you teach and you show up to the event. Make sure that you have some tables that are ready. If there is a need, I would 100% reach out to the people that are coming to your event, because a lot of times when somebody comes to your game, if you need a board, in this example, you could say, hey, I only got 3 boards and we need 5 of them. Can anybody bring one? And, try and get some extras just in case somebody can't come because a car or tire pops or whatever. And you'll notice that if you just put the tiniest bit of effort in that regard, everything will run pretty smoothly. And most people are very understanding if something hiccups, because hiccups happen.
Yeah. The one, I guess the 2 items of feedback, I was going to say 1, but I have 2 for that, are specifically if you're running an event and you have people that are bringing tables, it would behoove you significantly to try and get an image of the table that they will bring before you go, which is not to say you want to shut people down who want to bring tables. That's great, and I think that a lot of people have a lot of good ideas and a lot of cool stuff, or maybe they have like some Weirdscapes terrain or something that's pretty reasonable. But Malifaux is a game that lives and dies by the amount of terrain on the table, and so it is very important for you to just double check as a TO, have some trees and forests and scatter and little scatter stuff to bring around, because more than once I have seen an event where like one of the tables is like 4 big pieces of rock and it's just like shooting fish in a barrel, and that's not how Malifaux works. The guidelines are very clear. You want 33 to 50% of the table to be covered in terrain. That's like a recommendation that you can deviate from if you want, but like don't. So yeah, just like have some extra pieces is advice point number one, and that's super helpful if people get pictures or whatever. But the most important thing that I would strongly recommend that you do, which was my second bit of feedback for the tables bit, is to bring or get in your collection or somebody you know lined mats. There are a lot of different things that you can do with terrain. There's a lot of stuff that you can do with terrain. Like having 3D printed terrain, fine. It doesn't matter if it's painted. Better if it is, but like whatever. But the biggest deal about playing Malifaux is lined mats. There's a bunch of different companies that do it. I think Mats by Mars is the best one. If you like vinyl mats, if you like neoprene mats, the best one is Deep Cut Studios. They're a little bit harder for US folks because they are UK, so the shipping is pretty expensive. Definitely 100%. It like massively improves the playability of tables. Huge recommendation. Strong bit. And like, if you once you get like 10 or so of them, you will never need more. And most people have them. So have people bring their mats, but bring line mats. That's important.
Yep. And after that, I think
especially for new players. Sorry.
And after that, I think you just have to make sure you set up a little schedule. Just try and keep people on task because you don't want people to be out all day. If you get an angry wife or significant other wondering where their husband has been all day, they probably can't come to your events as easily anymore. So just make sure you keep a good, tight timetable. You can obviously be reasonable with people. If something weird happens, it happens. And and then you know what? Just have fun.
Yeah. Oh no, we don't do that here. Make sure you schedule breaks for people too. You need a lunch break at a Malifaux tournament. If you're doing a 3-round Malifaux tournament, you can't do 3 rounds of Malifaux with like 10 minutes in between. That's completely unreasonable. Like you just have to have a lunch break. Or like a dinner break if you're starting later on. But Malifaux's a long game, so don't start too late. But definitely have fun.
And other than that, I just think that your good intentions speaks volumes, and you can build an event from the ground, or I should say a community from the ground up. It can start small. It can start big. It can start crazy. There are going to be people that come and go. You can have, eventually you might have people that are problems. They'll go away. You'll find people that have just become like true staples. And I have made so many of my bestest friends in this entire world from helping run community events. Like-minded people will, you're going to attract people that are like you. And as soon as people start to see a community that's nice and well taken care of, you can just know that if you ever want to play a game of Malifaux, you have created the community around that. You've created the thing that you yourself get to, use essentially. And you even get to play in your own event if it's small enough, or if if you're smart-brained enough and it's a big event, you could play in it or whatever. But It's very, very easy to create the thing that you yourself wish that you had. You just have to build it, and it does not take that much effort. And if you're listening to this episode, I know you can do it because of the fact that you're listening and you've managed to make it this far in the video. So I know we both appreciate that.
Yeah, for sure. I will say, like, the amount of effort that you put into it will directly reflect how fun it is, for you, at least in my experience. But, like, you absolutely don't need a shit ton of, like, you could easily throw a Malifaux tournament if you have the space for, like, pretty minimal. And I think that taking that all under you and, like, being like, I have to have a million tables and I have to have a bunch of mats and I have to know the game perfectly, completely unnecessary. It helps to get in touch with the game store and have a place that has some stuff. If they have terrain, great. Having somebody there to help you if you need rules questions answered is always a good prep as well. Like, have somebody on speed dial, worst case scenario. We've talked actually about having a Patreon tier where people can call me for rules questions, because I get rules questions so fucking often. I might as well charge people for it. If worst case scenario too, like if you're having a real crazy thing, a lot of people in their early TO ship get really freaked out about having a really difficult rules question or something that they don't know to answer. It again talks about it in the guiding document, the Gain of Grounds document. But if you make a ruling and that's not the right ruling, that's not the end of the world, right? The important thing is that you get as close as you can. You make sure that you're not doing anything wild or like out of bounds or like massively I guess for favoring a specific player, right? Like, look at it, do your best to be objective, and be like, this is what the rule interpretation will be, and then really importantly, what you say goes. That's it. That happens, and tell them to move on. Getting dug in and people really like bickering back and forth about stuff is bad for literally everybody. Most importantly, you running this event. But like, just don't let it build to that. Cut it off fast. Be like, this might not be the actual rules. It does not matter. My ruling is this. This is what we're going to do this tournament. And, you know, we can look it up later, but that's what we're going to go do now. But Malifaux is such a complex game. Stuff like that happens all the time. People have like crazy questions that they don't know how things work. Just use your best judgment. Nobody has to be perfect, and that's absolutely not something to get super bent out of shape about. And that's kind of all I got for TO advice, I guess.
Hey,
I probably have more, but
I got something as a bonus round. You want to hear?
Ooh, yeah, let's do a bonus round.
So I have decided locally that I'm going to create my own little tournament system that's very, very not serious. But what we're going to do is I'm going to invite some buddies, just invitational, and I'm going to call it the showdown. And what we're going to do is we're going to have people show up for a 2-game event on a Saturday or a Sunday. So you only got to play 2 games. It's not going to be an all-day thing. And what we're going to do is you show up with your faction and as many of the mods. So you want to make sure you bring as much of a single faction as you can for this because of the way this is going to work. What we're going to do is we're going to throw a bunch of random factors and we're going to make little slips for them and we're going to throw them in a hat. And before you start the game, you have to pull a factor out of this hat and you have to build a list around some kind of specific constraint. So that could be you have to play the master you've played the least, or you can't bring anything that costs 5 soul stones, or you can't bring anything over 10 soul stones, or you can't bring one of the horsemen or whatever, any kind of specific thing like that. And so what I think is that if you create events that are literally, and this is essentially an emotional grow up type event where you have to come to this event knowing that this is going to be chaos, and it's very, very good training for being okay with things that that are not under your control. And I think that if you're going to start hosting little silly events like this and you just want to like practice improving your own like ability to take loss or whatever, this might be a really good way to do it. Everybody I know, at least locally, is super on board for it because we just like random chaos.
I'm super on board for it. That sounds rad. I hope I get an invite.
You do get an invite. You're invited right now.
Oh my gosh, we did it.
Yay. So if you think that whatever little idea you have for an event is stupid, it is, but that's probably why it's awesome.
Yeah. And Malifaux in particular is a game that just lends itself to a bunch of shenanigans, right? Having, pick your own master, pick your own crew. I mean, like, there's so many cool things you could do with it. And certainly for wider appeal events, I would recommend that you start off pretty vanilla, like, hey, we're going to have 3 rounds. And you don't even have to make your own scheme pools. Just copy them from a big event. It doesn't matter. They all post them online. And then, like, do something simple. But, like, get to know your community, right? If you have a bunch of people that are doing it cool, float an idea of like, hey, if I did this cool wild thing, would you guys be interested? Which is what Dylan is proposing right now. And then, do it. Why not?
Yep.
Have fun. It's a game. That's the point.
The worst case scenario is they say no, and then they punch you in the face, and then they leave, and you never.
Yeah, and then you die.
Yeah, that's the worst case scenario.
That sounds like pretty good to me.
Yeah, I don't know. Sounds not bad.
We did it. Cool. Well, yeah, we've covered a lot, I think, in TO and community building and tournament stuff. And we had this cool tournament. It was a lot of fun. And if you want to hear more about this, or if you like this, or if you hate this and you're like, fuck you, Brandon, just do tier lists. Any of that's good. Tell us in the comments below. But yeah, check us out. And special thanks to all the patrons. You guys help out a shit ton. You guys are the best. And you'll see their names popping up on the screen now because we couldn't do this without you. You pay for all of our software, which is really important, especially like this is Zencaster account that we're recording the stuff on. So the videos would not be possible without you, and you guys are the best. Check out our Discord. Check out all the things. Check out Dylan's platform and the podcasts that you got to talk to the Arachne and listen to their bits about not only Malifaux, but they cover a lot of other games. I would say an infinite number of games. No, arguably they cover a countably finite number of games, because I don't think that, but they do cover infinity in itself in a concept, which is really good.
Yeah, not the game. We just talk about the concept. Of
just the concept. Yeah, different mathematical things, and they also talk about a lot of other irrational numbers too, like Warcrow. We did it. Thanks for listening. I hope you've had a great time. Dylan, the time has come. You must now say goodbye to the internet.
Hi, internet.
No, that's the wrong one again.
Line.
No.
What's the line?
It's goodbye, internet.
Oh, goodbye, internet. If it's your birthday, happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Nick.
Happy birthday, Nick.
We did it.